Hello everyone, Crypto Walker here at cryptomentoring.com, and today's Bitcoin update video is for students of Bitcoin's Wealth Club Crypto Trading Millionaires. And I have a chart here that's an absolute mess. Means a lot to me. You might look at it and go, how the heck do you read that thing? The more indicators you put on a chart, the harder it gets to read. So I'm going to start erasing this and show you guys how I got here. Now we're using Bitcoin because whoops, I shouldn't have removed volume. Anyway, because Bitcoin kind of gauges where the rest of the market is going to go. Depending on where Bitcoin goes will make a big difference as to what's going to come in the next days, weeks, months with other currencies, altcoin currencies as well. So yesterday you all witnessed a nice big bloodbath of, about 20% across the board with everything. And I wanted to wait until the daily candle closed, which you guys can see. I'll zoom in right here. It closed at 4 p.m. Pacific, and that is the new daily candle for the next 24 hours. Now, I am looking at this zone right here. I think that Bitcoin could bounce up and retest the 10.3 area. And then I really think it's going to come back down, and we could see it bounce off of this bottom trend line, this greenish blue trend line here around 7,000 by mid to end of next week. Okay, so if we look at this trend line I drew, we're looking at the daily chart all the way back to, oh gosh, before June, right? I mean, if we keep going, it remained under this trend line right here, this bull channel, if you will. That's what that would really be, for almost a year, I think it was. So March 2017, it broke out here, October 2017, less than a year. Anyway, it was in that bull channel, and then it came back down on the China FUD here, retesting, and then shot out and went parabolic. Okay, so this bottom green is kind of what I feel like is the bottom zone to be looking at, possible bottom. And the reason I don't think that this is the bottom is because next week we have the SEC and the CFTC in the USA meeting to discuss cryptocurrency regulation specifically. And we all know that, from the 17 to about the $10,000 mark was South Korea banning Bitcoin, and then it popped back up to 13, and from 13 down to about pretty much here, 7,800 was supposed India banning Bitcoin, and Google and Facebook stopping cryptocurrency ads. And the reality is, if you look at all the news today, South Korea isn't banning Bitcoin. India is not killing or banning Bitcoin. Both of those countries are looking at more stringent regulations, which of course all the countries are. I've spoke a lot about it. And then we have like Google and Facebook trying to be more specific about the cryptocurrency advertising they allow, because let's be frank, guys, there's a lot of scammy, fishy, weird stuff that people put out there in this niche because it's new, and they're just taking advantage of the ignorance that's out there. So I don't think those are negative. I think those are all bullish, long-term bullish signs. But new people, the panic, and also the big institutional money is absolutely utilizing any kind of negative press they can to spread more fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, so that we continue to dump our coins so they can buy them up. And this morning we saw 2,000 Bitcoin. As soon as it hit around the $8,000 mark, 2,000 Bitcoin were bought immediately, and it sent that spike up, and that's why we're seeing a nice bounce today, which is pretty normal. When you see big red days, 1, 2, 3 red days in a row, you're going to see a green day, right? Now, today didn't close green, but you have a nice hammer candle here, which means the buyer stepped in, right? The price was driven all the way down to the 79.60 area, and then buyers stepped in and drove the price up to the $9,200, $9,300 area, and then we closed back down here at the $8,800 area. Now, the reason that this is another thing that confirms this for me as being a possible long-term bullish sign, but right now I'm thinking more short-term, next couple of days, 3-4 days bullish, is because it also closed above See how we have all this convergence? We have 1, 2, 3 trend lines that converge right here. And it closed, the daily candle closed above all 3 of those. So I also feel like that's a good sign for Bitcoin. So hold on a minute. Let me get my volume indicator back on here. I'm going to start putting on some indicators for you guys that I use. Volume. Okay. Let's see if these saved the way we want them to. 50, 50. No, I don't want 50. I don't want 250. So why would I want that? Let's go over here and do the 200 style. Do a lighter one so we can see it. Okay, got our volume at 20. Yeah, we're good to go there. Okay, another bullish sign. Whoops. Gosh, gotta love it when I do that. Is that it bounced off the 200 MA, 200 moving average. Okay, so this is a 200, this is a 50 moving average on the daily. If we zoom out to the weekly, we're still very bullish on both. Okay, got the 50 here around, you know, $5,400 mark, and 200 MA is down at the 1680. So we're very bullish long-term for long-term holders, okay? Short-term swing traders, you know, yeah, you're kind of 50-50 right here, but it is a positive sign that it did bounce nicely off the MA, and it hasn't gone under the 200 MA. Doesn't look like ever, right? I mean, I don't know. I could zoom out here and see, but I'm not going to because I want to try and keep this video somewhat shorter. So you guys see how I added those, and I'm just looking for price zones here. And so I'm going to erase these really quickly and show you guys another indicator of what I'm looking at when it comes to Elliott waves. Elliott waves aren't a precise. You can get pretty close, but everything's dynamic. So I'm going to look at a larger Elliott wave on the daily here and show you guys how I got, you know, where I got there. So I'm going to say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to go all the way up here and say this is 5. Now, some people might say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However they do it, this is the 5th wave here, okay? And we're going to zoom in, okay? So we hit the 5th wave at the 19.8 zone, and now we're retracing. And I'm going to use my ABC retracement. You can see a really clear A bounce back up to B, C here, okay? And then I'm going to go down to the 4-hour because you can see it a little more clearly on the 4-hour. You had nice five waves back up in here. So we're going to use our 5 Elliott waves again, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to actually use the ABCDE Elliott wave because I feel like, I could be wrong, and I'll tell you what will confirm if I'm wrong or not, but I feel like this is an A, this is a B, wherever you want to put it here, and this is a long C. And then I feel like we're going to come up here to retest that trend line one more time and drop back down to this axis pivot point right here, kind of like right in the descending wedge there, guys. Okay. And also on the bottom of that bull channel trend line before we have a nice energetic bounce out back into a bull run. Okay. I could be completely off base, you know, it might puncture down next week sometime after the news of whatever the US regulators come up with. You know, I mean, hey, if they come up with bullish news, then it might bounce right out of here. And then this is you know, not true. It's unconfirmed or it's confirmed that it's not right. And what we're looking at here would have been an A, B, C done, and a new 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bouncing out. That's how you know if this is not going to be a D and then another retracement on E, okay, is if it bounces above the 10-3 and comes out of this descending wedge, all right? But right now, I just think that for something in my gut, my intuition just tells, I feel like there's going to be a nice bounce over the weekend, and then we're going to see a retrace Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday maybe, when the news comes out from whatever the U.S. regulators announce. So now you guys know what I'm looking at when it comes to Bitcoin. And hopefully this video helped you better understand the Elliott waves and the ABC retracements and the trend lines that I'm drawing here, so that you can get a little more familiar with these indicators and with the charting. And just know that naked charts with trend lines and Fibonacci's is just as effective as having Elliott waves and MAs and all these other things, moving averages and everything on your charts, okay? So don't be overwhelmed. Start with the simple stuff, which would be trend lines and Fibonacci. Now, another thing I think is really interesting, and I want to go to the daily, I'm going to go to the weekly here. I want to show you guys something. Now, has Bitcoin gone parabolic since the beginning of last year? Heck yes, it has. This is March. This is March, okay? So for somebody who is a so-called breakout trader, they would have been accumulating, or an accumulative trader. Okay, that's me. I accumulate low and wait for the huge spikes and sell into strength, okay? And then wait for another accumulation zone. You know, we might have that with Bitcoin, where for the next couple of months, it just kind of evens out around the $8,000-$10,000 and just kind of bounces here up and down before it breaks out. I'll be accumulating more Bitcoin in there and more coins, actually altcoins in there during that accumulation phase before it breaks out. But for somebody who is a specific Bitcoin or breakout trader, this is what they would have been looking at. This was the accumulation zone for 2 years with Bitcoin, okay? And then it retested that last spike up, that last top. I know this chart's really tiny. It retested right here. It came really close, but it couldn't break out, and it came back down. You see this dip here, which is normal when you have a spike up to a past high. Usually it will retrace back down if it doesn't break through immediately and kind of come back into accumulation zone. And then the next spike up comes all the way up, as you notice here, all the way up to the prior high, right? And what does it do? It breaks back down to retest this high here. See how the bottom came all the way down and it just comes across to retest that high? And then it broke out, right? It just breaks above and starts shooting up. And that breakout, somebody who's a breakout trader would wait for the confirmation of this breakout, and then they would buy and ride the wave, right? And sell into strength wherever they feel like strength is going to go for that time, okay? So that's one strategy we'll be doing a video on, but I just wanted to show you guys. And I got distracted on that. I apologize, kind of got off target here. But I want to show you guys. Fibonacci, there you are. Okay. And we're going to go, oops, I always do that backwards. We're going to go from this lowest spike around 180, I think it was, 160, to the 19.8. And look at what we just bounced off of. Almost perfect bounce. Almost perfect off of the 618 zone. Now that is, you know, this is a weekly chart. This is taking all of Bitcoin's history into account, but I think it's very interesting that on a weekly chart, we just bounced almost perfectly off the 618 zone. Okay, guys? So yet again, another bullish sign, right? I'm saying it could come down to retest this bottom trend line here. And if that happens, you know, we're looking at the $7,000 area before it bounces up out of this wedge and goes on a tear again. That is a possibility, but it's also very possible that we just hit the bottom at 8,000 and now it's bouncing back up slowly, consolidating a little bit more before it starts bouncing out of this wedge. And, you know, we see 13, 15, 18, retest of 20,000 and beyond, and have another. If you were a breakout trader, you would literally wait until confirmation of this breakout and buy at the $20,000 area. I don't like to wait that long. I like to accumulate in the lower ranges. It is a bit more risky because, as you can tell, I accumulated some here today at the 8,000 range. It might drop to 7,000. It might drop to 6,500. It might drop all the way down and retest this breakout here at 5,000, which means I'm losing in those trades if I hold them and don't cut them to buy in when it's fully retraced. But a breakout trader will wait for perfect confirmation, 1, 2, 3, 4 breakout trade, and then they will buy. I would rather buy down here at 8,000 and write it to 20,000 than buy at 20,000 and write it to 30, right? Let me rephrase that. Buy it at 8,000 and write it to 30,000, then buy it at 20,000 and write it to 30. Okay, guys, so let's go back to the daily. Yesterday, the whole crypto world, had like a good 20% retrace. Bloodbath day is what we call it. And normally after a bloodbath like that, you can pretty much expect to have a nice bounce in all the markets. And as Bitcoin bounced, you noticed, so did Neo, ETH, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, OMG, pretty much across the board. If we go to CoinMarketCap, everything had a nice bounce into green today. All right, but let's see what the next week brings with the USA crypto regulators making decisions. And I just want to close with this. Bitcoin isn't going anywhere. Crypto isn't going anywhere. I am extremely, extremely bullish on the whole cryptocurrency blockchain world. Long-term, long-term being years, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, forever. I'm very bullish. But right now we're really witnessing the battle between the governments and this cryptocurrency world. And the governments are trying to figure out how they're very bullish, they're very fine with blockchain, but they want to figure out how they can regulate Bitcoin and all these cryptocurrencies so they can get their cash. Because as we take our money out of the banks and out of our IRAs and out of our 401ks and we invest it into cryptocurrency, we're literally taking money out of the big bankers, governments, all the top guns. We're taking money right out of their pocket, and they don't like that. So they're trying to figure out how they can regulate it and make sure that what we're taking out of our bank accounts and our retirement accounts that they're able to leverage and spend, by the way, goes back into their pockets. So that's what we're witnessing right now. That's why this large pullback, they let us ride it all the way up to 19.8. Very, again, big money. They can manipulate the market. And then they went, hey, let's scare them all out of their coins and buy them up. So that's why we saw this big volume spike down here today. I mean, look at these volume spikes, huge volume spike there. That was after, China banned Bitcoin and everybody freaked out. It went from 5,000 to 2,900. And then a huge volume spike because everybody realized, okay, they retested the last all-time high, right? Bounced down to retest the last all-time high and then bounced up immediately within a few days. And then we have another volume spike here. This might have been, I'm trying to remember. One of these was China Fed. The other one, I can't remember what it was, banning somebody, South Korea, something was happening, and that sent that nice little V bottom there. And then we see these spikes here, as more institutional money is coming in, big money is coming in, these large spikes. And this morning we saw this huge volume candle here that we hadn't seen since November. Okay, well, the 1st of January, we saw some spikes when people rode the 9 to 13,000, but we really hadn't seen a nice volume candle, buy volume candle since November. So guys, there's a lot going on in the crypto space. It's hard to keep up with. My, I guess, challenge to you is to pick 3 to 5 projects, research them, get to know them inside and out, stay up to speed with them, get involved in their community, and so that you believe in them enough to hold through these kinds of big retracements, right? So you're having a long-term portfolio that you're building, and maybe take 20 to 25% of your portfolio, whether it's $100 you're investing, 1,000, 100,000, or $1 million, take 20 to 25% of that and use it to trade with, to grow to have more gains, to do more swing trades. And just know this, that in a retrace like this, whether we want to call it a bear trend or just a few more weeks of healthy retrace after going parabolic, it is extremely hard to swing trade. You can get eaten alive very quickly on a swing trade in this kind of a bear market. So you want to be careful. So my homework, I guess, for you would be to continue to watch the charts. Let's see if we can stay above this trend line right here. Bounce up to the 10-3, see what happens. If we bounce out, then hallelujah. If we don't, look, for another retrace down here, pull back down here before we bounce out in the coming weeks. But long-term, very bullish on Bitcoin, Ethereum, NEO, OMG, ICX. What are a few other ones? I think TNC, which is also kind of NEO's right-hand man, I guess you could say. They need it to maximize the blockchain and their transactions. And it's just a few pennies right now. Those will be the coins that I plan on holding through 2018. I also have LTC, of course, and ETC I'm holding for the next few months through the hard fork to see what happens with it, because I think it could have a good growth spurt. All right, guys, this is Crypto Walker at cryptomentoring.com. Have a fabulous day.